Hi, my name is Kristen Jacob, and my topic for this presentation is Athenian architecture and how it relates to the rhetorical theories and the ideological methods. So, architecture was an art form and a way to express what was important in their ideological beliefs for the ancient Athenian people, and it's still influential today. It can be seen on college campuses, government buildings, and much more. It had a unique yet simplistic style, which showed their great attention to detail at the time. And for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to focus on the Parthenon, even though almost any artifact during this time period could be used for this rhetorical theory. I included a picture on the bottom left of the Parthenon. I'm sure that everyone here has seen it and has the image in their mind, but I wanted to include a picture on the right of the White House as a picture of a building that is still in use today and was based off of Athenian architecture. So the question of why Athenian architecture is still relevant even after 2 millennia should be answered before we go further into this presentation. The blueprints of their first structures date back to the 6th century, and archaeologists were not only able to discover the blueprints but preserve them as well. And taken from a work titled Architecture in Ancient Greece, Colette Hemingway says that this demonstrates the innovative engineering of the time, as well as the precision and excellence of their workmanship. The styles of architecture in ancient Greece can be categorized into two different um, styles, which are classical and archaic. And more specifically, the columns that they used, most people can attribute Athenian architecture to the extensive use of columns. And there were three types: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. So the most famous Doric style structure, like I said, is the Parthenon. And another example is the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens. Stated by Colette Hemingway again, the columns are fluted and have no base. The capitals are composed of two parts consisting of a flat slab, which you can see on the bottom, an abacus, and a cushion-like slab known as the echinus. The capital rests on the entablature, and the entablature is what is over here, and is made up of three parts: the architrave, the frieze, and the cornice. So the frieze is up here, where the image is a little blurred, but there are paintings on the frieze as well that wrap around the whole building. And Athenians didn't worship inside the building, therefore, located in there is only a few small statues. The focal point of the building was outside for the worshippers to stay outside. So the Parthenon was built to honor the goddess Athena and is constructed on the Acropolis. The rows of columns, just to go back to see this picture and reference it again, the rows of columns supporting the entablature and triangular roof up here, at the end of the roof had pediments and displays for scenes of the gods for the worshippers to look at, like I had mentioned previously. So, how does this relate to the rhetorical theory? Stated in Foss on page 214, in ideological analysis, the critic looks beyond the surface structure of an artifact and discovers beliefs, values, and the assumptions that it suggests. So a culture's ideologies can be seen through their art, their language, where they choose to settle and create their community, and this reflects their social, economic, political, and cultural interests and what is held as important to the community as a whole. Again, Foss states, an ideology is a pattern of beliefs that determine a group's interpretation of some aspect of the world. These beliefs reflect a group's fundamental interests. So, to apply the ideological method to the Parthenon, there's a couple of steps that can be taken that I'm going to walk you guys through. Foss states, every artifact takes on an evaluative position on various subjects simply by the rhetorical choices that were made when creating the artifact. And as I had said in the beginning of the presentation, that almost any artifact could be used to look at their ideologies of the ancient Greeks, but the Parthenon being such a large and immense structure, I figured that this would show most about what was important to them at the time. So first is picking the picking the artifact that you would like to choose. And then second is looking at the presented elements, which are what you see when you look straight on at an artifact. So this picture was shown previously, but in a clear image posted on this slide. When I look at the presented elements of the Parthenon in this image, I see that it's made of marble, that there's a lot of columns, and it's very vast on its large scale. Its shape is rectangular, and there are statues, as we know, inside, but also up on top and wrapping all the way around above the frieze. And it has the Doric detailing. Next, you want to look at what the suggested elements are based off of what is presented and what you can gather about what this group's ideologies were based off of these presented elements. So with marble, you can deduct that they were strong because it's a strong material. The columns were practical because it left the building open for cross breezes and had an open like structure. It was large scale, which showed devotion. Rectangular was the location because it was located on the Acropolis, and based on the setting, it may have been the most practical to make it this shape. The statues represent prayer, and the Doric detailing represents their attention to detail and precision. So once you have your suggested and presented elements gathered, you can formulate the ideology that you think is important to these people. So the marble large scale and shape of the structure demonstrate that the architects who are creating this building wanted to portray power. And since this one structure was devoted to one god, goddess Athena, it shows how important religion was in their everyday lives and what the role that it played for them. So now that it is understood what the ideological method is and how it relates to the Parthenon, it's important to wrap it up and figure out what this means. An article written by Van den Arden states, in the art of architecture, construction seems to be more prominent than in other arts, but this is only apparently so. There is no more and no less construction in the Greek temple than in a sonata, a poem, or a piece of statuary. But in modern times, construction has been separated from architecture almost entirely. Oftentimes during the modern age, the element of art is taken out of the equation when constructing a building. Today, when you view a building, you can see that practicality is one of the most prominent ideologies that our society has, and an important characteristic of architecture or the construction of a building is to make it cost or energy efficient, which displays certain presented and suggested elements in our ideology today. Whereas for the Parthenon, it shows that the ancient Athenian people were strong and that it was important for them to create things that would last. And finally, how this relates to communication. The Athenian ideologies were demonstrated through their interpersonal communication on a regular basis. Their ideologies were so well constructed that they were unified and they were able to be passed down even up until present day. And this can be seen through theater, education, and more. Thank you.